New Testament scholar NT Wright said some egregious things in a recent interview. Let's watch this clip where he's talking about abortion.
When it's presented as you are killing, you are murdering an unborn child, I think we do have to be very, very careful. And I've had personally...
It's not a matter of being presented as killing an unborn child. Abortion is killing an unborn child. That's what it is. It's not a presentation thing.
Experience of this with a close family member where soon after the couple discovered that they were pregnant, or the wife was pregnant, then it also became apparent that the wife had been accidentally exposed to German measles, rubella. Now, as we know, that exposure to German measles can result in serious deformities in the womb, etc., etc. And the GP in that case, who was a devout Christian GP, said, we are going to do the tests, and if she has been exposed to rubella, if there's a threat of serious defamation or whatever, then we will recommend termination.
A devout Christian, he says, who is going to recommend termination, recommend abortion. If there's a deformity, then I will recommend that we murder the child. That doesn't sound like a devout Christian to me.
And I remember my heart in my mouth when I heard that and thinking, do I really agree with that? But at the time, it was absolutely clear for the mental health.
Whoa. He remembered with his heart in his mouth at the time, and he said, do I really agree with that? How is that even a question? Do I really agree with that? You are a biblical scholar. You are supposed to know the scriptures. You're supposed to understand the basic fundaments of the Christian faith, which involve the fact that all human beings are made in the image of God, that God knitted us together in the mother's womb, that He knew us before we were born. And you're asking the question, how do I really feel about that? You should know what you feel about that already. You should have known that before the issue even came up. And the fact that someone like this is presenting in this manner without knowing already what he thinks about abortion, it is just incredible. It's just amazing that someone who's supposed to know the Bible doesn't know what he thinks about the matter of life and death, and whether or not it's okay for us to kill an innocent child.
Mouth when I heard that and thinking, do I really agree with that? But at the time, it was absolutely clear for the mental health, never mind anything else, of the mother and the potential father as well, that this was the way to go. In fact, all was well. The rubella had not actually done what...
The mental health of the mother. If you have children and were paying attention at all to your wife, if you're a man, or if you are a woman, you may know this firsthand, that sometimes it is mentally stressful to have a child. So when you say, well, it's dangerous for the mental health, yes, this child may have had some exposure, may have had some additional difficulties, and yes, that would quite possibly add additional stress on top of the normal stress of having a newborn child and dealing with all the bodily changes, the hormonal changes that go on. Mental health, that could be an issue for any woman. Any woman could say, my mental health is at risk in pregnancy because they're going through a lot of changes. It's no excuse to murder a child.
In fact, all was well. The rubella had not actually done what it sometimes might do, and that child was born perfectly healthy and has grown up now, etc. This was a long time ago.
Wow. What a great story. That because the child didn't have a deformity, we didn't murder it. That's the story, Mr. Wright? It's simply despicable that it would be even a question in the mind of any Christian to justify the murder of the most innocent and defenseless among us.
Cases where it is about the mother's health versus the health of the child or whatever, and particularly that, as you cited, in cases of or in cases of incest, there may be a very, very strong argument for saying this ought never to have happened, and with sorrow, because we do not want to do this in principle, but with sorrow and a bit of shame, the best thing to do is as soon as possible to terminate this pregnancy.
With sorrow and shame, because we do not want to do this, we're going to kill the child because his father, his mother, or because some family relation, and now the child may have some kind of malady. It's simply despicable, and it's a position without logic. And incest don't justify murder. You do not punish the child for the sins of the father. You know what's particularly notable to me is how this man is obviously bamboozled by the world. He's bamboozled by the arguments that come from the world about abortion. And there was no wisdom, there was no biblical Christian reasoning that he brought to bear on this scenario whatsoever. It was purely these asinine talking points that we always hear from those pro-abortion people, or even those pro-life people who do not really understand the issue, do not really understand that your life is just as valuable before you're born as after you're born, that your life carries the same value from the moment of fertilization on. Pro-life people like to say that, but so many of them don't really believe it because they are not willing to put themselves out to really call it murder. But just as he said earlier, we have to be very careful if we call it killing a child. That's just what it is. You're not going to call it anything else if you're going to be honest. But if you have no wisdom, you have not considered this issue with any depth of thought, then you're going to approach it with just the stupid talking points that you've heard from the world, and that is exactly what NT Wright is doing here. And it's frankly more than disappointing. It's outrageous. So this story made an appearance in this past weekend's Project 1815, which is my weekly newsletter of Christian news, Bible knowledge, and church history. Go ahead and sign up for it so that you don't miss out on news like this that will get your blood boiling, as well as occasionally some good news about things going on in the Christian world. And it really is edifying, I think. It's build you up your knowledge of the world, of the scripture, and of church history. So I invite you to check it out, project1815.com. If you will, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.